Ready? All right, guys. Podcast number one, take three.
Number one.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the first podcast for See You Next Season. Matt and myself will be creating a series of podcasts to help young seasonal workers find great jobs and also help resort businesses and adventure industry people find great staff. So we'll generally be talking about ski industry, but we also cater for people who do jobs like surf instructors, dive masters, deck hands, rafting guides, mountain biking, mechanics, all those sort of people, and also general hospitality staff, people like chefs and bartenders who just want to work in a fabulous place for say 6 months during the peak tourism season. My first job for this podcast is to introduce Matt, and he's going to tell us all about himself.
Right. Yeah, as Ian said, my name's Matt, and kind of got teamed up with Ian here. Both took adventures when we were young, see the challenges currently facing the industry, and decided to create See You Next Season. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but my background was simple. Young at one point, took an adventure. It worked out. Took another adventure about a year ago, spent 4 years in Vail. So I learned firsthand the challenges that are facing the outdoor industry right now. So yeah, that's kind of my background. My goal is to create a LinkedIn Tinder specific for the outdoor industry, See You Next Season that is, and help young people be educated about the places they want to work and have an adventure, and then create a targeted, efficient way for employers to connect with them and then bring those two together. So that's what we're trying to do with See You Next Season.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. I'll introduce myself. I'm Ian, based in Australia, if you haven't judged from the accent. Bit of background about myself. Left school, 18 through 22, studying accounting and finance at university. I was even tutoring international students about economics. So that was my background. By fourth year at university, I realised the office life just certainly wasn't for me. So I bought that plane ticket, the round the world ticket. And one of the first stops was Colorado, Aspen, and just rocked up into town in September. It was super easy. Found a job within sort of 15 minutes of arriving in town. Met a lovely English bloke who put me up for a month, got my accommodation sorted out, set for the season. Worked really hard during the fall, and basically by the time season rocked around, I only needed to do 3 days a week and skied 4. So that was a long time ago in '93. It's a lot harder now, and we're just here to basically help the next generation of ski bums out there. It's a lot harder now. Unfortunately, the days of mid-90s are over. But that's what we're here for, to basically help employers and employees make a go of it. What do I have to do next? I've got to check my notes. Okay, Matt, why is it so much harder?
Well, that is a interesting question. I can say, really, having lived it, and my background as well was a lot of time in housing and banking as well, oddly enough. So the housing challenge is probably paramount. Obviously, staffing if you're an employer, and then some wages in there, but really at the top of that heap is housing. So I'll give you a couple examples of challenges right now. One, for me, working in mountain services, so our department was full of trades, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, water, sanitation, you name it. So we had all the trades, but we were under resort operations, which includes a number of departments. But what we would often find is whether you're lifts, mountain services, base, doesn't matter. If you're counting on and you find someone and you're counting on that person, you've got a start date, you're probably planning to open a part of the mountain, a facility, a lift, a bar, a restaurant, whatever it is, a ski tuning shop, a mountain bike shop, you're counting on that person. And when that person unfortunately shows up and doesn't have all the information, sometimes they make it couple weeks, 30 days. Oftentimes, I think you see them go on a plane back home, and it ends in chaos and disaster if you're a young person wanting an adventure. So, yeah, you've got to plan ahead for the housing piece. It is massive. I mean, we have seen over the last 4 years, especially being on the ground in Vail, there were restaurants that couldn't open, owners of ski tuning businesses that had to tune skis for 8 hours a day because they don't have any employees, bars that couldn't open or had to close early, lifts that couldn't open on the mountain. So regardless of if you're at a bar in the base area, working at an independent ski tuning or mountain bike shop, or you're on the mountain, the problems are the same. One, not knowing if the person you're hiring is going to be able to make a go of it when they get there. And two, how do you plan a business around that? And yeah, it's very difficult. So I think one of the ways I should say we solve this challenge is by creating this LinkedIn Tinder See You Next Season, where we can educate young folks about the areas they want to spend time working and adventuring in. And two, we create a targeted way for employers to find you as a qualified person prepared to go have the adventure where they're going, understanding the challenges. And if we can do that for the employers and do that for the employees and marry them together, it's going to make this whole process better for everyone. Not saying it's going to solve all the challenges, but that is probably the single paramount issue right now is housing and knowing where you're going. So yeah, you don't want to have to close your restaurant or bar early or not rent mountain bikes, whatever the case is. I've literally seen rafting companies have to cancel raft tours because someone didn't show up. It's tragic and it's hurting a lot of businesses, and there's a lot of people who need to work. So let's get them together.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, you touched on the big problems for the employers. It's similar sort of problems for employees as well. There's a lack of knowledge, a deep lack of knowledge of how difficult it is to set yourself up in a ski town after COVID. I mean, that housing stock has just been decimated. It's been all those old classic ski bum locations have been bought out and basically turned into second homes for people. So it is so hard, and that's one of the problems we solve for employees is their lack of knowledge. Go to the website, check out the blog, the Know Before You Go blog. You'll find information about visas. You'll find information about wages. You'll find information. You'll see ski resort profiles from a seasonal worker perspective. So we'll touch on those housing issues there. If it's really tight, we'll let you know. So when somebody creates a profile on See You Next Season, so an employee profile, they'll list a whole load of things, what they're looking for, what type of jobs, where they want to work, what season they want to do, whether they have technical training, etc. Matt and I will look through every single profile that we get. And if we see if you're after something that's not feasible, we will let you know. We'll also let you know that maybe you've nominated one resort that you want to work in, but we know the one just across the valley has much better housing options. We'll let you know that too. So we'll give you that knowledge so you can actually get to day one of the season. We see so many casualties, so many people who don't make it to day one because they don't understand how difficult it is. One thing that Australians and New Zealanders don't understand is when you move into a house in America, in a ski town, A, you're going to be paying some seriously large rents, but B, you're going to have to pay 3 months up in advance. It's called first, last, and deposit. That's 3 months rent that you need to come up with just to get a bed. That's going to be about $5,000 US, probably about, no, I won't say it. I was going to say it's about 15,000 New Zealand dollars, but it's not that bad. I think it's probably about 9,000 US, 8,000 Aussie dollars just to get a bed. So that's what you're looking at. It is difficult, but it's not impossible. But you do need to go with that knowledge before you hit that ski town, because if you go in there late and you don't have your housing, you're going to be home before Christmas. You're going to be broke and miserable. That is a reality that we are trying to help employees deal with. and give them a pathway to actually get to day one, to opening day of the season. We're almost out of time. We're getting better at this, Matt. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, probably a couple things. And, I guess one thing too I would address is, we've tried to engage very deeply on social media, especially Facebook. A lot of folks are just throwing up posts on there that they're looking for work, traveling here, traveling there, hoping an employer just happens to find them, which is risky. And we obviously have created a better way. Oh, this way, well, one of those ways. So use that to your advantage. And like Ian said, it is difficult here with the 3 months. So, but one of the ways you can get around that is to plan ahead. Don't start at the 11th hour. Plan ahead for the 22-23 ski season. Get in there early, because they're like in Vail as an example, there is employee housing. It's not a great deal, but it is there, and you got to get there early because those vouchers go quickly. And I would encourage anyone to reach out to us on Facebook or the website. And we will help you. If we know a local hiring manager or have a contact, we can get you in touch with them to find out what those vouchers look like, because it is oftentimes difficult to find that information. So one, plan ahead, way ahead. Two, have a plan B. And plan B can be, hey, I wanted to be in Vail and Beaver Creek, but oh, look at that. 9 miles away, there's Ski Cooper. And guess what? That's close to Leadville, which has much more affordable housing. Or Sunlight down valley from Eagle in Glenwood, right outside there. So you've got that as a housing option. It's much more feasible. So if there are two things I could tell people to do, is plan ahead, way ahead, and have a plan B. And use the site like Ian mentioned. There's a reason it's called Know Before You Go, because that is probably bigger than those two challenges, because those are solvable, but you have to do your homework, and you got to be prepared. And I know, like, I guess I didn't finish my last sentence about social media. We've seen some people that have been kind of bummed out, because they say, hey, I want to go to, let's just say, Whistler, and we're just trying to let them know there is literally no housing there. And that's coming direct from people that are in Whistler. So we are not trying to throw shade or dampen anyone's mission or dream of having an adventure. We're just saying, is it about going to Whistler, or is it about having an adventure? Because if you want to have an adventure, there are going to be better options. And if you want to go, that's great, but understand the challenges you're up against. So.
Yeah, I've got a couple of final thoughts. One is I'm seeing a lot of crew that they want the top quality mountain. They want to work. They want to get lots of ski time. They want to party, and they want to live in town. And a lot of the time, that's just not feasible. You do have to compromise certain things. You may have to give up your partying to get a place with better, more affordable housing. There's lots of compromises people have to make. I'm seeing a lot of crew that are holding on to that ultimate dream that they've always thought of, and it's just not feasible. If we see that, we'll let you know that you're asking for too much. So the other thing is, my other final thought is, if you are planning on an adventure, a working holiday adventure, and you don't go, you will regret that for the rest of your life. That's a reality. Matt and I were lucky enough to be given that opportunity. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm sure, Matt, would you change it?
No.
The reality is, Matt and I were a lot luckier back in the 90s. It was a hell of a lot easier for you guys. So go with information and knowledge, and plan ahead. Otherwise, we know it's going to happen, but if you don't plan ahead, you'll be home by Christmas, tail between your legs, broke, and wondering where it all went wrong. So use our site wisely. It's there to help. We're there to help employees and employers, and we hope that we can help you make your dreams come true. Thanks, guys. Farewell from me, and farewell from.
Yep, Matt. And if you fail to plan to fail.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.